Good morning and welcome back to the Brick by Brick podcast with Ronald Pauleus, where we look at the principles woven throughout our universe that anyone can take advantage of, even you, to build a life worth living, get some financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom. I got my guest, Jonathan. He is back in the house, was with us last week and shared a bunch of nuggets and tips, talked a little bit about his journey and how he read that Rich Dad Poor Dad book. That's usually how it begins for a lot of people. And he even, in
Sure.
some ways, had a poor dad and a rich dad that kind of modeled what was talked about in that book. In this episode, what I want to do is talk some about your zone of genius, Jonathan. The reason I want to do that for those eavesdropping in is because people don't realize that you have a superpower and you can use that in real estate. You could use that towards financial freedom. And sometimes people just think like, oh, that's nerdy or it's not something I can use. While in reality, it 100% is. Jonathan, welcome back. Thanks for being on the show again.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. It's a real honor.
This let's push on. So talk to us about what you own a couple rental properties. You're a real estate agent now. You've since moved to Montana to be closer to mentors, spiritual mentors. Talk to us about your superpower, your zone of genius that you're using in real estate. Like, what are you doing exactly?
Yeah. So, for me, I think I think having a unique vantage point that people are really where it's at. Anything to do with business or with real estate, it's always people. And so, like,
Yes, yes,
for me,
yes.
one of the best principles I ever I think growing up as a middle child, I think this helped me a lot, like because getting to see, it's kind of
Yeah.
extreme sides of any issue, or seeing my parents, like have very strong opinions, but I'd watch them missing each other in communication, or I'd watch my siblings have their unique vantage point, and I'd kind of get to see it all, and it always felt like it was like you guys, like you're missing each other. Like this is important to you, this is important to you. I think you could probably meet in a place that would be helpful for you both. But learning to listen, like let people
Okay.
tell
Yeah.
you what they need, like let people like give them space to feel heard and seen, because when people are a lot of times people feel overlooked, and even by parents or by culture or by even themselves, like we learn these bad habits about ourselves, things that aren't true, that we don't have value, or we don't have gifting, or we don't have something significant to give, or like a superpower. I think we each have unbelievable superpowers that we would very quickly or readily dismiss, maybe because we didn't learn how important they are, or learn
Mm,
how valuable that they are. And so one for me, that keeps being proven, but learning to listen and let people really tell you what they need. And when you learn what they need, like you can then deliver it. And if you go looking for the gold in people, you're going to find it. And
I love
and
that.
we talked a little bit about like faith, and
Mhm.
how God creates people. Like He doesn't screw up. He doesn't make mistakes with people. Like he gives everybody unbelievable gifts that it's kind of our responsibility to learn. And so I love to call those things out when I see them in people, and invite
Mm,
them to start engaging with it. And like I said, a lot of times we discount them, but when somebody can notice them and help speak
mm,
life to them and go, not everybody has that. That's a really unique thing that
yeah.
not everybody wants to do, that you just take for granted. But when you hear somebody else notice it, or they see it in action and can call it out, you know, it can really change the trajectory of how you feel about some of those things
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
would take for granted.
So I love that. So your superpower, I think you summed it up in that phrase. You look for the gold in people.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so rich. You look for the gold in people. Have there been people you've not been able to find gold in?
That's a good question. Sometimes it's hidden. People will hide it, or
Mm,
or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't take that long usually though. If you go, it's kind of like the seek and you'll find. Like if you set out intentionally to go look for it, you'll
Yeah.
find it. Like
That's awesome.
it's really there. And one of the things that's been really helpful, I took this. It's called the It used to be called the Strengths Finder, but now it's called the Clifton's
Oh, yeah,
Strength
yeah, yeah.
Test.
I took that. It's a great test.
Yeah, and there was a VP at this college she had the gift of or the strength of individualization, and so she was very eager to help students see some of their uniqueness and how beautiful some of their strengths and gifts are, and it really helps to flesh out how those things can play out in real life and in business situations or in academic situations, whatever it might be. But it's worth taking. It's like $60. Pace Morby talks a lot about this too, and he has all of his employees take this because he wants to know where to strategically place them. And he
Mm-hmm.
happens to have one of the same strengths that I do, and I didn't know this until really recently because I had taken it back in college. But then when I took it again recently, like a couple weeks back, strategic was one of the superpowers that
Mm-hmm.
had it had gotten in the way a little bit too, like in moving to a new place. Like I need to kind of understand where I'm at enough in order to be able to be strategic. And
Mm,
so it's taken a bit to kind of get settled and kind of figure out where I wanted to be and how I wanted to move forward in my career and in my
yeah.
investing acquisitions and everything else. And so learning a new environment has been really helpful. But anyway, all that to say, that's the strength test is a really useful, fairly quickly done and fairly inexpensively to really get a sense of where some of those gifts might lie and where that gold might be hidden or unmined as of yet.
Mm.
Very practical way of finding them, some of them.
Awesome. Awesome. I mean, that's so rich because I'm thinking about my listeners. They're eavesdropping in. They're on their way to work or they're taking a jog, whatever it is, and they're thinking to themselves, "I don't think I have gold. I probably got bronze or silver." Right? I don't think it's that rare or that awesome. But I think you're right, Jonathan, that in that you kind of mentioned that we've been given a gift. We understand and believe it's from God. Others may say it's from somewhere else.
Sure.
But nonetheless, we have been given gifts. And like you said, it's our responsibility. You, I thought this was so rich. You said it's our responsibility to find what that gift is and then to use that gift.
Yeah.
How would you say someone who's listening, they don't think they got gold, how would you tell them to go find that gift?
Oh, good question. Well, I mentioned one already, just on a very practical sense. I'll probably name maybe three of them total, but this will be one of them.
Okay.
Clifton Strength Test, $60. It takes you 45 minutes, an hour maybe, and you'll get a very helpful, useful map that like I said, I think a lot of us we would take for granted how good we are at something because it's come so
Yeah.
naturally to us. We would
Yep.
just
Yep.
discount it. We'd be like,
You're so
oh,
right.
everybody can do this, because I can do it so easily,
You're so right.
and we would just discount it. But it's not to be discounted. I think it's worth exploring and letting, you can ask the universe, you can ask God, however, whatever your orientation is with it. You can ask him to begin highlighting some of those gifts to you. Like just ask the question, that's kind of number two. Number three might be something like, you can talk with your friends or family or people that you aspire to
Mm,
be like and see if they've ever noticed things that you are
mm,
uniquely passionate about, that you are uniquely gifted at, that they see you
mm.
do something and they're like, I could never do that. Or
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
do
yeah.
that, I feel the magic. Like I feel
That's good.
like you're stepping into something that is so significant. And so it's worth getting others' input on, but people that are for you in their orientation towards you. They're not against you. They're not neutral. They're somebody who is actually very, you want to ask people who are for you, and those will be maybe some of the people that you could could hit up, because you don't want people who are jealous of you. You don't want people that
Yeah.
are, are standing against you in some way, or would want to, you know, keep that gold buried because it threatens their position or
Yeah.
threatens their, it brings up their own negativity about themselves. So you want people that are able to speak life into you, and
Yeah.
they're for you in some way.
Man, that is so rich. That is so rich because when when I first became a Christian, I'm an associate pastor here in Oklahoma City. When I first became a Christian at the age of 16, I was thinking to myself, okay, what does God want me to do? I didn't really know. And I found myself enjoying talking to people about Jesus and how they should follow him and repent of their sins and those different things. And I remember going through this. I was talking to my spiritual dad. You have a spiritual mentor yourself.
Hmm.
And I was just picking his brain and asking about pastoring and preaching. And this was before I went to college. I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do in college. I actually was going to go into psychology because I had a girlfriend who was going to go into psychology. So I said, let's just both do that, I guess. And I remember him saying, in college, you could study what's called theology. And so I looked up the definition of that word, Jonathan, and I fell in love with it. It said, theology is a study of God's nature. It's a study of God. And I was like, you can go to college just to study God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I fell in love with that. And as I was going through that journey and figuring things out, I asked several pastors, my spiritual mentor, and others who I know loved me and cared about me. And I said, do you see that I can be a pastor? Like, do you see the gifting? Do you see the ability? Am I just pulling this out of a hat? Like, do you see what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we agree and affirm. Even the scriptures talked about elders affirming and all that.
Hmm.
We affirm you wanting, or that being a good desire and you actually having the gift. So I think you're right on, Jonathan, that if you could find people who believe in you, who love you, who have your best interests in mind, and they've proved that before,
Hmm.
and they've been around you long enough. Like sometimes you have the three, but they've not been around long enough to really see you in different environments, in different situations, doing different things to be able to
Yeah.
say, okay, this is a thread that I've seen that's continually arising.
Yeah.
So I think that's rich that you mentioned that, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Who was that for you in real estate and life? Like who was that for you uh, that spoke life, if you will, to you?
Oh man. Well, for me, I mean, it certainly was. I mentioned my girlfriend's father in college.
Yep. Yep.
He had we had a similar kind of one of the other strengths in the is ideation, which is kind of like a love for ideas, but also like an abundance of ideas and creative thinking, and so he and I related on that quite a bit. So I think he saw some of himself in me, and he saw
Nice.
what was possible. So he was really wanting to kind of give me a kind of a wider perspective, so that if I was going to be marrying his daughter, of course, then that I'd have some of that. But then also, I think I always just felt there was a lot of support from him, and he just was very for me, and he didn't want to do it for me, but he did want to provide me more resources and a broader understanding of financial literacy and investing and everything else. I think my friend, who was the real estate investor, or sorry, the real estate broker that I worked with initially when I first got started, my kind of internship there.
Yeah.
It was so cool because he basically made me an offer I couldn't refuse. He wanted to work with me. He needed an assistant. I didn't have to have special skills. He taught me what to
Nice.
do. He said, "Hey, why don't you come work with me for like, 6 months, a year? I'll teach you, about real estate. You can get your license while you're doing that. I'll pay you, like an amount that you can live on,
Awesome.
and you can learn and you can get your license, and then, you can do what you want. You can keep working with me. You can do your own thing. You can, whatever." But it just was. I think he really saw something in me, and he saw a need that he had that I could fill too. And it's not crazy I didn't have to have a college degree for that. I didn't have to have any special skills. It was just, can I sit at the computer and learn the tasks that he was, and then also like provide, there was some strategic thinking. We did get to brainstorm a bit and try to map out a marketing strategy. And so I got to help him in other ways as well. But yeah, I think he was another one that really believed in me. Of course, I mentioned my grandfather too. He was so supportive in any of my entrepreneurial, like the painting company I mentioned, and then also in college letting me use his truck, and then also he lent me the first $8,000 for my down payment of my first property,
Wow.
and then since then there's been kind of my spiritual mentors here. Like this was an interesting one because, and this is kind of ties into what you were saying a minute ago. When I this is going to sound maybe a little woo-woo here, but I felt like I met Jesus in a dream, and I did. It was as real as anything I've ever encountered with God. And I thought that he was going to, I thought he was going to tell me what he had for me in my life. That he was going to, like, here's my plan for you. Here's what I'm calling you to do. Here's what I want you to do. Here's what I created you for. And instead, it was so shocking. He was kind of talking with people in this group of people, and he was having individual conversations with each person. And there was this one woman who was kind of gnarled and had, she was like arthritic, and she was kind of older. And he said, "Hey, I'd like to give you something." And she says, "What?" He goes, "I'd like to give you a hug." And so she goes, "Okay." And she like opened up as much as she could. She was really inhibited. And he said, "No, no, no." He kind of laughed. He goes, "No, like this." And he just scoops her up, and her arms just fell
Yeah.
open, and she just like became a different, stature. It was beautiful. And then he was having these conversations with each person, but for me, I was a little bit intimidated. But I thought he was going to tell me what to do. Instead, he goes, "What do you want with me?"
Hmm.
And it was the shock. I was shocked because I couldn't believe he was asking me what I wanted, and with him, and with or without him, it was like this three-pronged question that could kind of go,
Yeah.
sometimes he speaks in very true, but like on multiple levels, and so I couldn't believe he was asking me what I wanted. But then it was like, so the one thing I was going to add earlier that I meant to add earlier was just areas of interest. You mentioned you found yourself wanting to talk about the gospel, about Jesus, and about the Bible, and telling people about that.
Yeah.
Like you had an interest in that,
Yep. Yep.
We're talking about gifts from God. Like, when you find an area of interest, it's another clue to look at. Like,
Good.
how does my
Good.
interest and my gifting and my, you know, uh, yeah, how do those things align to meet a need in the world? And so he was somebody else he gave me permission to kind of like explore the things that I actually had interest in.
That's
And
awesome.
so that was kind of one of the bigger ones because I thought it had to be, if if you love God and you want to, you know, you have to be a pastor, or you have to go and do this, or you
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
He kind of opened the whole world to me and was like, "What do you want with me?" And I was like, "Wow." So it was kind of permission for me from him,
Yeah.
and that's not to say that I think he does. He may speak very clearly to people about what he has for them,
Yeah.
but I
For
was
sure.
shocked when he asked me like, "What do you want with me?" And
Man, Jonathan, you've been a blessing to have. Time's escaping us. But I think you've just really highlighted that the zone of genius, because the people I've spoken with before, they've talked about their zone of genius, and you have too. But I think you've given my listeners the ability to realize that they can go looking for that in themselves. And they don't have to be listening to 30, 40, 50 people talk about it and they say to them, "Oh, I don't have that." Well, you may not have that gift, you may not have that ability, but you got something. You got something. And it's your responsibility as a steward to search that out, find out what it is, and then to use it and cultivate it. Jonathan, thanks for being on here. How can people get a hold of you on social media if they want to continue the conversation?
oh man, I need to grow that quite a bit more. The simplest way is you can Google me. Like you can Google my name. I'm licensed in Oregon and in Montana. I can help you with any of that sort of stuff.
Awesome.
But if there's ever questions or you just want to reach out and uh, my number's online. You can look me up in Google, and I'm on
Oh yeah,
Facebook.
you
And
being an agent. Yeah.
yeah,
Nice,
that's
nice.
the simplest way. And I'll do my best to help wherever I can.
Awesome. Jonathan, thanks for your time. Thanks for being on here. Guys, what are you doing this week to build a life worth living brick by brick? And I think we all know that the answer is find your gold, find what that gift is, cultivate it, ask other people to find it for you or help you see it, rather, I should say. Then use it. Use it. Because I think if you operate in the area of your strengths, you'll enjoy it more. You'll get quicker towards you'll move much faster towards your goals, and you'll be able to have that zone of genius. Jonathan, thanks for being here, man. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. It's really a privilege. Appreciate it.
We'll catch you on the next episode, guys.